Hello everyone. I'm just doing a quick tutorial based
Oh,
on the many questions I have received as far as cooking in a group. And since we've all been cooking together and we plan to do more events in our community, I figured I would just get ahead of it now. So less questions need to be asked and we can get going faster. And nobody has to feel rushed or embarrassed or anything like that. So come on in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a recipe for petit four, which is a recipe that kind of allows me to show you a lot of different prep stations. You'll see over here that it only requires one of each. I happen to have two of each because there are recipes that do require two, which is one of the reasons why I tend to host. As we grow, other hosts will be brought in to do it maybe in different time zones or to break it up, since our first one had a lot of interest and we had to actually do it in rotation. We couldn't all cook at once. So, here's what we'll do. If you are initiating a recipe, always click this little button here to use star quality ingredients. It's not going to require you to provide star quality ingredients, but if you'll look, someone like me, I have only one apple that isn't star quality, and corn I have none, even though when I hit star I've got a ton, right? So let's start with that. Here's the most important thing in this game as far as cooking. If you see up above here, there are individual items that go into the recipe and a quantity. The biggest problem that we have is people making more than what's needed of a thing. For example, this recipe, we oftentimes get a lot of people grinding up a lot of sweet leaf, which we don't really need. So, anything that's showing a red like 0 out of 1 or 0 out of 2, feel free to do, unless your neighbor is doing it. Just keep an eye on it. You'll see when I go to make something, the icon for the frosting shows a bunch of little people next to it, right? That's because I'm actively doing it. Make sure that you check that before you start making something. It will waste your ingredients otherwise. About using ingredients, if you use a prep station which calls for an ingredient, it will be taken out of your storage whether you have it in your inventory or not. The only way to be safe from that is to put it into the secure storage boxes where it will not be pulled. So be careful because you are using your own ingredients, and the rare things like heat root, etc., can cause, people to use them when they didn't want to. So just keep an eye out. And again, be really careful when you're doing these prep, like the mixing or the chopping. We see a lot of folks doubling up, and it's really sad because it's just a waste. Now, if you don't have ingredients, or are newer and don't want to spend the time or whatever, or haven't had the time to gather, then you are more than welcome, at least at my parties, to go ahead and just do the stations that request you to do things with things I've already made. For example, sorry, I messed up. I can use the table here to just cut this cake after the cake has already been made. Alrighty, and then you'll get a dish. Let me go over one more thing with you before I end this video, and this is going to be helpful for if you ever want to host or are just cooking and something won't work, right? I'm going to go to this mixing table, right? If you'll see, it's got the mixing station listed twice for this macaron recipe, right? As of right now, I have both mixing stations, so it's not a problem. However, if I go and I pick this up, so I no longer have two on my lot, it won't let me do it because there's one missing. Okay? And this can look differently too. If you're missing more than one station, it will actually show up like these tabs but red, right? So this one you need two stoves for. See, that says stove, then stove. Basically, this one here is basically where the dish starts and where it ends, right? So it just stays on there, and someone needs to mix it while it's on there. But it also needs a dish that is cooked on the stove, which is rice in this case. So you need two stoves. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. I'm planning on doing some more of these tutorials for things that we do, mostly to go over courtesies. The biggest number one rule with cooking is just be careful not to use ingredients that you don't want to. Make sure everybody gets to do some interaction so they get credit, and just listen to whichever mod is hosting or whoever's house is hosting, because that's really important, as if you were visiting their real house. Okay? Hope everybody has a great day.
Hey,